Hello there. Well, a couple of years, well, from a year and a half ago, there was some medicine that we were all supposed to take, and if you remember that, the level of hatred towards the people who said, "I don't want to take that medicine." Um, there's people like Piers Morgan, who was sort of calling for, almost like calling for the heads of everybody who refused to take the medicine, and they were saying they're going to remove their rights from society, and you know, they can't work. The people who refuse the medicine. Yeah, we mustn't forget that really, because it's quite easy to forget the level of hatred that they were directing at people who refuse the medicine. Um, yeah, it's just, it was beyond anything. I mean, if you wanted to know hate speech or generating hate, I mean, you just look to the mainstream media and their sort of reaction towards people who refuse to take the medicine. But that aside, there's something sort of like that's been going on since then, that we've had sort of like fairly high profile sort of things starting um, in sort of like the latter part of 2021 was, was something sudden adult death syndrome, where people like sort of like sportsmen, people and everything like that, who were supremely fit and things like that, who had taken the medicine, may I point out as well, they had taken, all these people have taken the medicine, um, died suddenly, quite often in public arenas, just felt killed over and died. And yeah, it's become a bit of a normality now. Now, if you look at the number of people dying and the number of people being born over the past 20 years and had a graph on it, of there'd be ripples. There'd be certain times, like in January in the northern hemisphere, in the colder months of winters, where more people died, and basically, but if you put the sort of like the 20 years over and pasted them over each other, there'd be much of a muchness. And the same with births. If you put the graphs for each year over on top of each other for the past 20 years, um, they'd be much of a muchness. But now, something has happened, and this is never going to be in the news. This is never going to be spoken about by mainstream media. This is never going to be thing. This is just going to be pushed to the side. And when you go to sort of like 2022 so far, it's not. We're only in the coming up to month 8. We've only had 7 full months of 2022, but we've got some data coming in. It's quite difficult to get hold of this data, but managed to get hold of it. Births and deaths, okay, and if you look at it across the board, in the globally, in sort of like January, there was a sort of like a 3 to 5% increase in the number of deaths over previous 20 years. You can find all this data online. If you got Google, you can go and have a look for it yourself. Don't believe me, right? Okay. And February, 5%. I think it's up to 11% now, right? Okay. It's increasing incrementally everything. There are more deaths, and we're talking about deaths sort of like right across the board. We're not talking about particular deaths. We're talking deaths across the board. People dying. That at the moment, in July 2022 in the world, it's somewhere around about 11 to 13%. I haven't got the figures out yet for July, but 11 to 13%, which is what we're expecting, increase in death. Okay, across the board, and ditto on the births, but in the other direction. The number of people being born is going down across the globe. the number of stillborns and number of deaths and is increasing. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work this out, does it? Like, to work out what the effect of this would be. You have less births and more deaths. You have a population collapse. Now, we're nowhere near population collapse yet. Like, it's got to be, it's got to be a lot of things, but it's going in that direction. And I don't know how quickly, but it's speeding up every month. And the only cause of this, the only cause that it can be, the media are talking about sudden adult death syndrome, and they're sort of like blaming it on just about everything else, but the only cause that it could well be is the medicine. The medicine has affected births and it's affected deaths, and it's affected births in a negative way and deaths in a positive way. And I don't say positive in a good way there, it means there are more deaths. Now, have a look. More people are dying and younger people are dying. More people are dying and less people are being born. It's go and check it out and share it once you get that information. Talk to people about it, because that's the medicine. That's the medicine.